What are the worst, most unreliable cars and SUVs that you need to avoid in 2022? That's what we're going to find out. Welcome to Car Corner, where we help you, the consumer, master the process of car buying and car ownership. A little while back, I made a list of the 10 most unreliable cars and SUVs as reported by Consumer Reports. For this part 2 video, I'm going to go through another top 10 cars and SUVs that are best avoided if you're shopping for a new car in 2022. The vehicles chosen for this video is based off of data from Consumer Reports, as well as data from owners and mechanics who work on these cars on a regular basis. So to find out what are some of the most unreliable cars and SUVs of 2022, make sure to stick around until the end of this video. And if you enjoy and get value out of this video, make sure to like and subscribe to my channel. I post 2 videos a week, always straight to the point, valuable car buying advice designed to help you, the consumer. So with that out of the way, let's get started with my number 10 pick on this list, which is the Nissan ALTIMA. Although many would generally consider Japanese cars to be some of the most reliable cars that you can buy, that's not always the case. Despite being a generally well-designed car, the ALTIMA has had a history of serious reliability issues stretching back over the past 2 decades. Although the ALTIMA does have a history of issues with their engines and electronics, the most significant issue with the ALTIMA has to do with the CVT, continuously variable transmission. Nissan was one of the first brands to introduce the CVT to the market almost 2 decades ago. And although these transmissions were designed to improve efficiency and performance, they have developed a reputation for being unreliable and expensive to repair. CVT failure used to be incredibly common on ALTIMAs and many other Nissan models too, stretching all the way back to 2003. And the issue with these CVTs is that they can't be repaired or rebuilt. They almost always need to be replaced with a brand new remanufactured unit, which can easily cost $6,000 to $7,000. Nissan's CVT issues were so severe that they basically gave CVTs a bad reputation across the board, which is a bit of a shame because they're not that problematic on other car brands. Companies like Toyota, Honda, and Subaru all use CVTs, and they've proven that these transmissions can be reliable. But if history has taught us anything, if you want to have a reliable car with a CVT transmission, just make sure it's not a Nissan. So with that one out of the way, let's move on to our number 9 car on this list, which is the Fiat 500X. Now it probably won't be a surprise to many to see Fiat make this list because the company has long had a poor reputation for reliability in North America. Although the company sold a variety of different models in the market, the only one left for 2022 is the 500X. And if you're shopping for a crossover SUV, this is one that you should probably avoid. As with other Fiat models, the 500X has a history of having all kinds of electronic issues, engine and transmission issues, all of which can be extremely expensive to repair. They tend to have low quality parts and low build quality in general, and because they now sell in very low numbers, parts and servicing them can be a bit of a pain too. If you're looking for a crossover SUV that's reliable and built to last, the 500X is one that you should avoid. It's also a poor value for what you're getting, and it wouldn't surprise me if the company decided to discontinue it, which would essentially be the end of Fiat in North America, which, let's be honest, wouldn't be much of a loss. But the Fiat is not the only small European brand that's best avoided if you're looking for reliability. You should also avoid number 8 on the list, which is the Mini Cooper. The Mini Cooper lineup includes a variety of different models, including the 3-door and 5-door hatchback, as well as the Countryman crossover SUV. Whichever one you go for, Minis have historically had a very poor reputation for their reliability and high repair costs in North America. They're especially problematic when you decide to keep one beyond the warranty period when they're more than 5 years old, which is when the majority of owners see the most problems. As with Fiat, the issues with older Mini Coopers have to do with the electronics, the engines, and transmissions, all of which are extremely complicated and expensive to repair. Mini is owned by BMW, and even though they are cheaper to buy, they are no less expensive when it comes to their maintenance and repair costs. Now thankfully, the newer Mini Coopers do seem to be more reliable than the ones that came before them. And the all-electric Mini Cooper SC does seem to be a fairly reliable car thanks to its mechanical simplicity. But that being said, if you plan on buying a Mini Cooper in 2022, do yourself a favor and just lease one for 3 to 4 years, just to be safe. The same advice would also apply to number 7 on the list, which is any BMW with a 4-cylinder engine. There are a lot of BMWs which use 4-cylinder engines, but the most popular ones include the X1, the X3, and the 3 Series. Although they tend to generally be okay during the warranty period, they can be extremely problematic beyond that point. and BMW's history of 4-cylinder turbos in North America is proof of that. The 4-cylinder turbos which BMW began to sell in North America from 2012 onward had all kinds of serious problems. These include oil consumption, gasket and oil leaks, injector and fuel pump issues, and timing chain issues too. Thankfully, the 4-cylinder turbo that BMW is now using, which is called the B48, does seem to be an improvement over the engines that came before it. Having said that though, if you are looking for a luxury car with low maintenance and repair costs, BMW is one that you should probably avoid. The company just doesn't have a good reputation for long-term reliability. The safest way to buy one is just to lease one for 3 to 4 years and then give it back before the warranty expires. That way you avoid any expensive repairs. But European luxury brands are not the only ones that can have expensive reliability issues, and number 6 on the list is proof of that, which is the Volkswagen Jetta. In my previous video, I went over all of the expensive reliability nightmares that you can experience when owning a Volkswagen Tiguan or an Atlas crossover SUV. But unfortunately, this could also be the case with Volkswagen's normal cars, which includes the Jetta. Volkswagen just doesn't have a good reputation for reliability in North America, especially when their cars become older beyond the warranty period. Their build quality is just not very good, and they tend to develop all kinds of issues with their electronics and engines, all of which can be extremely expensive to repair. Although the Jetta competes with similar compact cars like the Honda Civic, the Toyota Corolla, and the Mazda 3, the Jetta is nowhere near in the same league as those cars when it comes to maintenance and repair costs. They tend to be a lot more comparable to an expensive European luxury car like a BMW or an Audi as opposed to a Honda or a Toyota. So if you're just looking for reliable, cheap, efficient transportation, do yourself a favor and just avoid the Volkswagen Jetta because it is definitely no Honda or Toyota. But European brands are not the only ones that can have expensive reliability issues. You can also have all kinds of issues with domestic car brands too, and number 5 on the list is proof of that, which is the Jeep Compass. In my previous video, which included the Jeep Wrangler, I went over how Jeep is just not a car brand that you can really trust when it comes to reliability. Their vehicles are just not known for their build quality, and they can also be extremely expensive to repair. But at least in the case of the Jeep Wrangler, you are getting very strong resale value, which does make up for it just a little bit. That's not the case with the Jeep Compass though, which realistically just doesn't have anything worthwhile going for it. It has a below average reputation for reliability with all kinds of reported issues with its engines, transmissions, and electronics. And it also has poor resale value because it's such an overpriced vehicle to begin with. The pricing for the Compass always astonishes me, and I'm always surprised how much people are willing to pay for that Jeep brand. But at the end of the day, the Jeep Compass is just not a good crossover SUV to buy. Crossovers like the Mazda CX-5, the Subaru Forester, and the Toyota RAV4 all have much better reputations for reliability, and they also offer much better value and resale value too. But whatever you do, if you're looking for a small crossover SUV, just don't go and buy number 4 on the list, which are the Chevrolet Equinox and the GMC Terrain. Although GM does a decent job of their full-sized SUVs, the company has not had a good reputation when it comes to the reliability of their small crossovers. The previous generations, for example, which used a 2.4-liter 4-cylinder engine, had all kinds of serious problems including oil consumption, oil leaks, and timing chain issues too. The newer ones thankfully have ditched their old engines, switching over to a 1.5 and 2-liter turbo, which do seem to be a bit more reliable. But overall, these SUVs are still nowhere near as reliable as the other SUVs they compete against from brands like Subaru, Mazda, and Toyota. So if you're planning on buying a crossover SUV to hold on to for upwards of 10 to 15 years, your best bet is just to avoid the Equinox and the Terrain altogether. Which is also true of number 3 on the list, which is the Ford Escape. Now it's a bit of a shame to have to include the Escape on this list because the first generation model, sold up to 2012, was actually a fairly reliable SUV. Owners love these first generation models, partly thanks to their simplicity, durability, and ease of repair. All of that, however, went out the window when Ford redesigned the Escape for the 2013 model year and started to use their 4-cylinder turbo EcoBoost engines. And that's when the issues with the Escape started to get really bad because unfortunately Ford's EcoBoost 4-cylinder engines are just not known to be that reliable. These engines are known for their oil leaks and coolant leaks, which can lead to overheating engines and ultimately total engine failure. And the issues with the newer Escapes don't just end with the engines. For the most part, the Escape just seems to have below average reliability. That is unless you go with the hybrid, which does seem to be more reliable than the rest of the lineup. I suspect that has to do with the fact that the hybrid is the only version of the Escape that you can buy, which doesn't use a turbo engine. It also uses hybrid technology, which Ford borrowed from Toyota many years ago, which does explain a lot. So if you're thinking of buying a new Ford Escape, the safest way to do so is just to buy the hybrid, which also happens to be the most fuel efficient one too. Just avoid the EcoBoost engines at all costs, just like you should also avoid number 2 on the list, which are any Hyundai and Kia with the 2-liter and 2.4-liter 4-cylinder engines. Although both Hyundai and Kia have made some dramatic improvements over the past 2 decades, the companies still have some issues when it comes to reliability, especially with the 2-liter and 2.4-liter engines. These engines are part of a very serious safety recall involving millions of cars built from 2010 all the way up to brand new. The issue is that because of poor manufacturing methods, these engines are known to completely seize up or in rare cases even catch on fire. Thousands of owners have had to get their engines replaced under warranty and in some cases multiple times because these issues have still not been resolved on the newer models. In addition to experiencing total engine failure, Hyundai and Kia's 2-liter and 2.4-liter engines are also known for having very serious oil consumption, which has led to a major class action lawsuit against the companies. The verdict then is that if you want a reliable car to keep for a very long time, upwards of 15 years, then the safest thing to do is just to avoid any Hyundai and Kia with a 4-cylinder engine. And that same advice would also go for my number 1 pick on this list, which is any Land Rover, Range Rover model. It probably won't be a surprise to many to see the Range Rover make the number 1 spot on this list. Just about everything imaginable can go wrong with these SUVs, including the engines, the electronics, the 4-wheel drive systems, and the air suspension systems too. And because you're dealing with a Land Rover product, all of the parts and servicing is extremely expensive, so everything costs an absolute fortune to fix. Although they are very nice and capable SUVs, it's just not a great idea to own one outside the warranty period. Even during the warranty period, these SUVs can be extremely problematic, which is not a great sign of things to come down the road. So although you might be protected if you just lease one for 3 to 4 years under warranty, you still could develop issues, so ultimately the safest thing to do is just to buy something else instead. So there you have it, the 10 most unreliable cars and SUVs that you need to avoid. Let me know what you thought of the vehicles on this list, and if you have any suggestions for any future car videos, just leave a comment below. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe. You can also check out some of my other car videos by checking out these links over here. Make sure to follow me on TikTok and Instagram, and if you need any additional car buying advice, recommendations, or help with getting a great deal on your next new car purchase, you can also check out carhelpcanada.com. Thanks so much for watching, and see you next time.